I just refuse to settle. That doesn't make for the easiest life. It creates challenges with people in your life. It creates challenges in relationships. It creates internal challenges, right? Where you're just good enough is never good enough. And you don't find yourself content with anything. If you do not control that, can lead to bad things. What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a good start to this week. I am in the office today for the first time. I haven't had to go to the job at the beginning of podcast day and get some stuff done. So I'm feeling good. I have a lot of energy. Hope you guys are having a good week. I know that we are in the heat of the holiday season. I know Hanukkah started last week. Christmas is here in a couple of weeks. I know that there's a few other holidays this time of year. So if you are celebrating, hopefully you have some downtime and a little respite from work. Spend some time with the family and focus on some things other than jobs, projects, work, deadline, everything else. Um, I got my customers moved in last week on Saturday. They moved in on Friday. The moving company was there. I have a few things to button up there on the interior, a couple things to button up on the exterior, but for the most part, they are in, enjoying their house. Good to go. So I'm glad to have that weight off my shoulder. That was 6 months of a lot of um, unforeseen issues, a lot of setbacks, and things that really happened at inopportune times. So I'm glad to have that behind me. That was supposed to be a kitchen light first floor remodel that turned into a lot more than that. So I'm glad to kind of have that in my rear view mirror at this point. As mentioned before, I'm going to take a little bit of time off before starting something larger and new just to catch up on things, devote some more time to this, to the main Modern Craftsman podcast. I have a bunch of stuff coming up um, with social next year, JLC, IBS, Modern Craftsman stuff. Um, Also, our own house. We've been working on some things for that with approvals and design. So I just have a lot on my plate that I put off trying to wrap this job up with obviously the scope growing, pushing other customers and everything else. So I'm going to take some time to get my life in order before I jump back to things. But hopefully, everyone else is winding down here coming up on the holidays. And again, being able to take a little bit of time off and spend some time with the family and get away from work for a little bit. What else is going on here? Last night was, or yesterday was my dad's 70th birthday. So Rachel and myself coordinated to have all the kids but one of my siblings and all the grandkids come out and have dinner last night with him last night. So I think there was 18 of us. My parents got divorced when I was 16. So my mom not included, but my dad got remarried. So his kids, minus my one younger brother and his couple of kids and his wife, there were still 18 of us there, and it was just immediate family. So obviously a big family. I'm one of five, but it was good to get everyone together. Um, I'm sure with everyone else and life and families and my parents getting divorced later in life, there was a fair amount of turmoil that was produced by that situation. So at this point, it's tough to get all of us together at once. But my dad's 70th birthday, or Christmas coming up, um, is a good excuse to get everyone together and all the grandkids and all the cousins. So it was fun. I know that my kids enjoyed seeing their cousins, and I enjoyed seeing my siblings, and it was good to see my dad. So that was a big thing last night that we all got together for. And one more thing leading into the holidays, to see a little bit more family. But all kidding aside, it was good. We all don't get together that often, just with life is crazy. We all have young kids, work, business. It's just tough. So it usually winds up being one family at a time. It's tough to get 18 to 22 of us, just immediate family in one place at one time, and have the space for it. So that was fun last night. Um, excuse me. I can't believe that my dad's 70. That's crazy. I remember when my grandfather was 70. He seemed like an old man. Like, he seemed really old, and my dad seems older, but he doesn't seem as old as my grandpa when I was younger, and I don't know if that's just me being a young kid and thinking my grandpa was really old, or my grandpa just appearing really old because he smoked from the time he was 11 until the time when he died. But yeah, 70 years old, that's a big one. So we had fun. We had dinner at an Italian place, 20 minutes or so away. They gave us like the whole second floor for 18 of us. So yeah, we had a good time. This week, the blog post podcast is a listener question from a guy named Levi. So Levi currently is a trim or finish carpenter. He wanted to do somewhat of Spencer Lewis's model where he was trimming out homes for other builders. That's not working out for him for one reason or another. So he's found a need in his market for remodeling contractor, somebody who can self perform a lot. And his question for me was basically, um, how do you manage to become so good at so many things and avoid becoming more of a handyman? He said, I think the danger for some folks who go that route is that you might become a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I'd love to hear your advice on developing and maintaining a high quality standard across multiple trades or specialized aspects of carpentry. So first off, Levi, thank you for the email. Um, Before I hop into this, I've been slammed with work, slammed with life, family, work, this project, podcast. I've let a bunch of emails slide. I had some consulting calls that I bumped until this week and next week. I had one slip through the cracks where the customer or somebody was lining up a consulting call for somebody else. And they sent me multiple emails confirming after I told them the time and the date, and it was supposed to be today, and I didn't get back to their emails until yesterday, so they wanted to cancel it. So I want to apologize for that. I dropped the ball. There's been too much going on. I have not been in the office. I have not been getting the emails. So my communication and correspondence has been terrible. It's nothing personal. I just haven't had time to get to emails. I've been on the job nonstop, and then when I'm at home, I want to spend some time with my family. And pulling open my computer, getting to emails, brings a lot of stress at that point. So I didn't do it. And I've fallen behind on emails and everything else. So I just want to let you know, if you guys have emailed me, if we've set something up and I dropped the ball, I do apologize. It's just been chaotic and nothing that I could. It was just I couldn't create any more hours in a day. So I'm doing my best, and I apologize if I have not been prompt in responding to your emails. Um, so thank you to Levi for the email. I know I have a couple of other emails with listener questions in there, that I will get to over the next few weeks. So if you guys have questions, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. I should have a little bit more time now to respond more efficiently and more promptly. But as always, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate the emails. I love the listener questions because it gives me a subject to tackle and to touch on where I don't have to come up with this unique idea to record a podcast or write up a blog post on. So I really do appreciate the listener questions, and it helps you guys out. It gives me content to create and to write a blog post around. So I think it's a win-win. So yeah, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have ideas, just shoot me an email. It really helps me out. So I do appreciate that. All right, so let's get to it. Um, I gave you a little bit of a brief on Levi and what his situation is. As far as becoming efficient and proficient at multiple trade disciplines, I think a lot of that winds up being my personality more than my natural aptitude for remodeling or trades. Um, Ever since I've been young, I I want to do the best that I can do. I want to be the best that I can be. I want to hold myself to a really high standard. I want to hold my subs, my partners, my family, everyone to a higher standard than probably is necessary at times. And I think that that lends itself to having a successful business, but you have to find a balance there. So starting off, when I would perform a trade, or when I would get a job that I had to do something that I was unfamiliar with, I would read a lot. I'd figure out what I'd have to do to perform that job. I would do a ton of research, and then I would plan the job accordingly. I would make a ton of mistakes, but I would just refuse to lose. I would refuse to chalk it up to, hey, it's a learning experience. So I would figure out what went wrong, why it went wrong, what I need to do to fix it. I would fix it, and then I would figure out how I could avoid that, or clean that install up, or make an improvement moving forward. I wasn't necessarily obtaining perfection, but I wanted to make my job easier the next time, right? Because the more you do things, the better you get, the higher the quality, the more efficient you become. You can make money on multiple levels. You can make money through your efficiency, because now it's taking you half the amount of time, but you're still charging the same amount. You can also make money through quality, right? Where maybe it's taking you the same amount of time, but you're performing a higher quality, or you're delivering a higher quality product. I might sneeze here for a second. So if I disappear, I apologize. The kids got me sick around Thanksgiving, and I have not been able to shake it. Um, you could also make money through a combination of the two, right? Where you become more efficient and you're delivering a higher quality product. So now you're making money through your efficiencies, but also by delivering a higher quality product. So when I started out, I didn't know how to do a lot of these things. So I would ask questions. I would read. I would look at pictures and dissect pictures as how do people make how do they make things? What do they do here? I would have folders and documents in my computer for different tasks and what I was doing. I bought books, took online courses. If I needed to install tile, I would go train and do the Weedy or the Dietra Curdy install that the tile vendor provided for free, and they'd give you lunch and stuff like that. And I would just learn, and I would make a ton of mistakes, but I would just try to become better with each and every project. Um, so I think a lot of this, again, it's not necessarily like this predisposition to being good at certain things. Um, I just refuse to settle. And that doesn't make for the easiest life. Um, it's it creates challenges with people in your life. It creates challenges in relationships. It creates internal challenges, right? Where you're just good enough is never good enough, and you don't find yourself content with anything. Which, if you do not control that, can lead to bad things. So I've had to learn how to control that. Um, as I'm sure you guys have heard, I've had anxiety my whole life. Um, One way that I can manage my anxiety, and I need to balance this, right? I can't just let this consume me as it has in the past, but me controlling what I'm doing on a project and controlling the outcome of a project quells that anxiety for me. So I would rather um, be somewhat of a fanatic at work and with my job sites and cleanliness and details at work and get paid for it than be that way at home with my wife and my children and myself. Um, so I found that running a tight ship on the job and controlling many aspects of my project and self-performing as much as possible, and keeping a tight leash on subs really helps quell my anxiety. And also, it makes me money. People hire me because of that. So I'm using one of what some people would call a strength. I probably would consider it more of a weakness, right? Where this is something where my I need to control certain situations. So rather than control my kids or control my wife, um, or control what my house looks like or what I do at home or what my dogs do, I control my projects. I control my work. I control the quality of my work, and that gives me some internal peace. So I'm allowing my anxiety and the side effects of my anxiety to manifest themselves through my work, which is a good thing. I just have to be careful as to how far I let that go, because striving for perfectionism and holding everyone to a standard that's unreasonable can create strife within any business, within any project, with customers, with designers, with subs, and everything else. So I have to walk a fine line there, between controlling my anxiety, allowing it to manifest itself so that I perform at the level that I need to, and delivering to my customers what they paid for. Um, so there's a balance there, but I think that a lot of this does come from my personality type. It's a need to control the outcome of a project and to be able to deliver and execute at the level that I feel is my fullest potential, right? I don't think I've ever done a job that I've walked away from that I'm 100% content with everything, and that everything is as good as it can be. I try and get it to that point, but it's not always there. I'm just never fully satisfied. Um, so that being said, anxiety and all of those issues aside, my suggestion to you would be to start small. And while you are remaining small, to really focus on developing and maintaining your values. What you see online and what a lot of people portray themselves as on Instagram, in magazines, on TV, will you will find yourself chasing projects that are bigger, that have a higher dollar value to them, that are more custom. That may not be the answer, especially if you're looking to self-perform and you're just looking to learn, right? Because the stakes are higher, the expectations are higher, there's less room for error. So it's going to be that much more pressure on you. You have to learn to walk before you can run. So for me, if you want to learn how to tile, take on a small backsplash. If you want to learn how to paint, do repaint a room, repaint a kitchen for somebody. If you want to learn how to build cabinetry, take a small shelving project or a fireplace mantle. If you want to learn how to spray finish, start with something small. Don't start with a complex, ornate, expensive refinish or paint. Start with something small. Spray a mantle, spray some shelves, spray a very simple built-in. You will learn, you will make mistakes. They will not cost you as much as a job that has a very discerning customer, architect, designer, that's requiring a level of detail that you're just not cut out for at that point. So develop your standards, figure out what you enjoy doing, what you're naturally predisposed to doing better, what you like to do, and learn from there. Make the mistakes, figure out why you made the mistakes and correct them. But it's easier to start small. It's easier to start when the expectations are lower. You don't have to chase these expensive jobs. You don't have to chase this custom stuff. That will come if that's where you want to be. If you want to get there, you can work towards getting there, but start small and develop your skill set and purchase the tools that you need to make your job better, and just take those baby steps in getting there. There's a lot involved with self-performing. There are a lot of trades. I'm not the best at every single trade. There's certain trades that I perform better at. There's certain trades that just take me longer because I don't do them every day, but I try to execute them to the best of my ability. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they come easy to me. I have a standard that I want to uphold, and I fight like hell to obtain that standard. Um, and sometimes that comes at a detriment to myself and to my bottom line. But again, that's where it's really important to start small and start on simpler projects, so that you're not costing yourself that much with these mistakes. I'd also suggest, if you have a project coming up, before you start that project, do as much research as possible. Ask questions. Purchase the tooling that you may need to perform this the best of your ability. Read books. Go online. Um, Take an online course. Go shadow somebody for a day or two. Hook up with somebody and say, "Hey, can I come to your job site and just watch when you're ready to install cabinets?" Um, Even if you pay somebody to do that, I wouldn't. If somebody put forth the effort that wanted to learn, I wouldn't I wouldn't charge them to come shadow me necessarily. If they were slowing my production down, maybe. But if somebody's willing to put forth the effort to want to learn, I think that I would let them. So try and shadow somebody. Hook up with somebody where it's like, "Hey, when you go to do this, can I come spend a couple of days with you?" And see what they say. There's a ton of ways to learn before you do a project, but I think that if you prepare yourself going into that project, it's going to be that much easier. And you could look at this from any perspective of life. Anything that anyone does, right? If you want to become an elite athlete or you just want to become an athlete, if you want to become a teacher, if you want to become a scientist, if you want to whatever it may be, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a musician, right? You have to do the work. You have to prepare. You think that a college athlete just shows up and can play basketball? No, they prepare. They prepare their entire life. They prepare before the season. They develop a proper diet, strength training, exercising, calisthenics, they eat right, they sleep right. There's everything that they do to prepare to perform at the highest level that they possibly can. And if they're not doing all of those things, then they will not perform at their highest level. Right. I just sent something to Nick that was a screenshot that I took of something where it's like people expect to perform at a very high level, especially athletes, because they're physically training to be the best athlete that they can be, but they're not integrating proper nutrition, dieting, mental exercises, mental strength training. They're not getting enough sleep. So without all of these things, they are not performing at their highest level. So it's not without all of these things do you really reach your full potential. And that's no different than what we do, right? If you want to learn how to tile, you have to arm yourself with the proper tools, skills, and knowledge going into that project to revert back on and to learn and to struggle through. You can't just go into that and say, I'm just going to learn this and I'll figure it out as I go because it's going to be a nightmare. You're going to create issues and problems that just cost you too much time and money and callbacks. So arm yourself with the knowledge, skill set, and tools that you need for any trade that you want to perform going into it. Um, and you're going to be much better off. You have to be prepared for every project. You have to be prepared. Doesn't matter how small or how big it is. If you go into it without a plan, it's going to fall apart. It's not going to be as good as it can be, and you will not reach your full potential. Um, Another thing that's huge for me is to fix your mistakes. I make mistakes every single day in my personal life, in my professional life as a father, riding my dirt bike, work, dealing with customers, relationships. I make mistakes every single day. Acknowledging those mistakes isn't enough. You have to figure out why, and then you have to make a change. I heard something when I was younger, and I think Rachel and I may have been dating, or maybe we were engaged. I don't think we were married yet, right? Where it's like if you make a mistake or you do something wrong with like your wife or your significant other, you obviously need to apologize. You need to speak out loud and make an actual apology to that person, but you also need to acknowledge what you did wrong and how you can make it right. So if I treat my wife like crap one day because I came home from work and I was stressed and work didn't go right, it's not it's not sufficient for me to just say, "Hey Rach, I'm sorry that like I acted like an ass last night." That's a bit of a cop out. I have to acknowledge, like, hey, Rach, I'm sorry that I was a bit of an ass last night. I was feeling this way because of this. And moving forward, what I'm going to try and do is this so that I don't do that again. And if I do, obviously call me on it. And I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to work on this. Right. So I apologized. I acknowledged what I did wrong. And then I made a plan moving forward. And that's the same as our mistakes in work, right? It's not just like, oh, yeah, I goofed up that corner. It's like, no, I'm going to acknowledge that I goofed up that corner. Then, by reasonable means, I'm going to try and make that right. And then I'm also going to make a plan moving forward as to how I can avoid that the next time or the time after that, or how I can do a better job moving forward. What could I change that would make for a better outcome? Um, and that's really important in developing self growth, professional growth, growth as a tradesman or a tradeswoman. Um, Fix your mistakes. It sucks. It costs you money, but that's how you learn. And again, this is why take the lower stakes jobs up front, because you're gonna screw up. You're gonna make mistakes. That's just part of learning. Every single person makes mistakes every single day. It's what you do with them. It's how you learn from it. It's how you fix it. What do you show up and what do you do when you make a mistake? And that's going to really dictate who you are as a business owner, as a tradesman, and as a person, because everyone screws up, everyone makes mistakes, but not everyone makes them right, and not everyone learns from them. In the short term, this is going to cost you money. It's going to cost you stress. It's going to cost you headaches and anxiety. But long term, this is a massive investment in your customer base, in your business. Um, these mistakes are going to be what defines you and makes you who you are, and makes your business the type of business that you really desire to be. All of these mistakes early on in my career, they cost me so much money. Like it made for a modest lifestyle, it made for modest earnings. But looking at it now, all of those mistakes completely define who I am as a contractor and who I am as a person, and the level of detail that I want to integrate into my projects. It's not just blind luck that it happens the way that it does. It's because I screwed all of this shit up once before or twice before, and I learned from it and I moved on and I bettered myself. So all of those mistakes and those screw ups that cost me so much time and headache and money and sleepless nights, I now carry with me to every project that I do. And that is who I am now. That is who TRG Home Concepts is now. That's who my customer is. That's why they hire me. So it took a long time to get there, and it took a lot of emotional, physical, and financial investment on my behalf. But that's just investing in yourself and your business. And now there's a return on that, right? Now I can charge a premium for what I do. I can sell um, a higher quality, lower volume product. And that's all I want. And that's what my customers want from me. And without all of these mistakes, without all of these screw ups, without fixing them and figuring out what I did wrong, I wouldn't be who I am and where I am today. I take that with me every single project, right? There's mistakes that I made on this project. There's things that I did, um, right? Like I have, I have a s something that I always try and do on every project is to change out the filters when I go to leave, and I forgot to do that. And I found a leak on their boiler when I went to leave, and I told them that there's like I snugged up the union and I snugged up the fitting, but I know that the one fitting on the boiler needs to be serviced. There's a gasket in there that needs to be replaced because it's a metal on plastic connection, and it's not a rubber washer, it's a paper washer. And I can tell that there's nothing I can snug up that's going to fit that. So I said, make sure you get somebody out here to service your boiler. We didn't touch the boiler. I just noticed the leak in the crawl space or in the basement utility room when I was leaving. And he replaced their filters in their HVAC system that were dirty when I left. And like that's something that I try and do on every project. And I missed it. There was too much going on that I forgot about, that I didn't end up doing that on this project, and that's a lesson for me to learn. There's really there wasn't a huge financial lesson to learn from this, more so than just like, damn, I dropped the ball on that. I should have turned this over with brand new HVAC filters. Um, for their project, right? I try and cover returns as much as possible and protect their job. This is just something I missed the mark on. It makes me look bad. So this is something that I take with me to the next project. I can't do anything about it now. I can offer to pay for the service call if I need it, if it makes it better. Hopefully I did enough right throughout this whole project that this is the least of their worries. But that's something for me to take to the next project that I don't miss out on. It's something that I shouldn't have missed out on. It's a standard I should have on every punch list, and I forgot to do it. So I learned from it. I'm not gonna beat myself up about it anymore. It's just part of the process. Um, you also have to realize that becoming good at anything is going to take time. You cannot expect to do something once or twice and be good at it. If you want to be the best that you can be or perform at a high level, yeah, there's going to be things that you're naturally just better at, but you're going to plateau, you're going to reach a ceiling. To become really good at anything or become really efficient at anything, you need to do it a lot. You need to practice. You can't do it once a year. You need to constantly be honing your craft, and you have to have realistic expectations of yourself. You can't expect to be a professional or a master of every craft if you don't do it enough, and if you don't really engage with whatever you're performing, and really analyze and inventory everything that you're doing to create the product that you're doing. You will become a jack of all trades because you just aren't spending the time. So you look at anyone who's at the top of their game in any industry, in if it's athletics, if it's professional athletes, if it's business, if it's research, if it's entrepreneurship, whatever it may be, whoever's at the peak of their level, it's because they spend a ton of time on it. People who create movies, people who create music, like, even if they have a gift from God to do these things, they still have to work at it, right? You still have to work at it in order to be the best that you can be. Um, so keep that in mind, right? It's not going to be a year of your time and you're going to be a master of all these things. It's going to take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you hope that you can just get better and better with each and every job, but you have to hold yourself accountable. At the end of the day, there's really only one person who's responsible for your growth, for your learning, for the standard that you hold yourself to, and that's the person who's in front of you in the mirror. Um, you have to remember that we are not entitled to anything in life. We're not entitled to anything in business. At least that's my opinion. I feel that you have to go out and work for whatever you want, and that in life, nothing is going to be handed to you. So if you go into it understanding that you're going to have to work hard, you're going to have high standards, you're going to have to hold everyone to a level of accountability, including yourself, then this is just all part of the process. And you'll get there, but it's going to take time. You're not entitled to being good at any of these things. You're not entitled to an easy road. You just have to go after what you want and fight for it. So I hope that this helps you. There's no real easy answer here other than just like, hey, if it's what you want, put the time in and figure out what you have to do to get there. Um, I've always said that at the end of the day, we are not finding the cure for cancer. We aren't building rocket ships. We are not reinventing the wheel. We aren't necessarily saving lives. What we do, if you break it down, is pretty simple. And if you approach every project on a small enough level or interval, you realize that it's a bunch of really small tasks that come together to create a product. And each one of those small tasks is very manageable if you break it down and just focus on one task at a time. It's not overly complicated. Yeah, sure, there's some things that are complicated and just take time, but like lean on people for that stuff. But for the most part, what we do is somewhat simple and you can wrap your head around it. And if you really focus and again hold yourself accountable, you can do all of these things and you can do them well. At the end of the day, it is not that difficult. Um, if you're hardworking, if you're driven, if you're honest, and you uphold that accountability. So again, thank you for the question, Levi. I appreciate it. I would appreciate anyone else who has questions sending them to my email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. I know that everyone's going to have a little bit of downtime here. Well, hopefully everyone has a little bit of downtime here coming into the holidays and you have some time to shoot me some emails. Hop on moderncraftsman.co, buy yourself some pencils, some Hive notebooks. Let us know if you want another run of t-shirts made. Um, if you have any insight, constructive criticism, whatever that may be, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. I also want to take a second here to thank our sponsors, Kuiken Brothers and Andersen Windows. If you are in New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania, hopefully you're already using Kuiken Brothers as your building material supplier of choice. They've been in business for over 110 years. They have 9 locations in the area. Kuiken Brothers, that's Kuiken, has the local knowledge to keep your projects moving, including some of the most knowledgeable millwork experts when it comes to Andersen windows and doors. Have you heard about Andersen's big door options? Experience grandeur with Andersen's big doors. Crafted for luxury living, these colossal doors redefine elegance, merging timeless design with modern innovation. Elevate your space and make a bold statement with Andersen Big Doors. Wondering where to check out the bifold lift and slide doors? If you're in northern New Jersey, visit Kuiken Brothers Midland Park, New Jersey Millwork Showroom, where you can operate full-size Andersen Big Door displays. While you're there, this is really important, make sure to check out the classical and modern craftsman molding profiles. These profiles have been shipping JobSite direct around the country for the past 10 years, all milled from Poplar, all based on historic molding patterns that will help you create an absolutely timeless look without the headache of having to have them custom milled. Kuiken Brothers, your trusted source for Andersen windows and doors and those stunning classical molding profiles. Visit www.kuikenbrothers.com/classical. Check them out. Good friends of the Modern Craftsman podcast, good friends of TRG Home Concepts. Thanks again, everyone. I will catch you next week.